Hello, my beautiful souls, and welcome to Healing with Hila. This is your space for aligning, expanding, and reconnecting with who you truly are. I'm your host, Hila Kedem Ferguson. I'm a transpersonal hypnotherapist, manifestation coach, and sound creator. Thank you so much for inviting me into your life. I am so beyond excited for today's episode for so many reasons. It's going to be so wonderful. First, for any of you that have been listening to me, you might have noticed our intro is different. I've completely redid it. I re recorded myself as well as the music that's playing is my song, Embody the Flow by Sounds to Manifest. The full version is so amazing. I hope you check it out. It's streaming everywhere. And beyond that, the episode is just amazing. It's very personal to me. I've received some incredible guidance around it, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. I was wondering how to structure it too, because it has a lot of pieces. And so honestly, I meditated on it, and my guides kind of walked me through it. And so we're going to start by talking about this piece that happened to me in a session. One of my clients was talking about the fear that comes up when he's facing the idea of having large amounts of money, literal large amounts of money hitting his bank. And so later I sat with this piece for myself and I realized that the only reason why we don't have something is because there's resistance to having it. And it's important to look at it, anything that we want, right? And for him, he had fear that was sitting in whatever it was for him. And when I scanned it for myself, I recognized that, like they always teach me, the idea of large amounts of money, the idea of unlimited amount of money is completely tied to the idea of unlimited freedom. And inside the concept of unlimited freedom lies fear for people or resistance. I think for my client, it was just fear in the temptation and the things that it would open and what it might mean for him and his journey. And for me, I realized it sat in the unlimited possibilities that it might open. I realized that my biggest lesson, and really, I think what the main focus of this episode is overwhelm. This feeling of overwhelm, this feeling of this never ending to do list. There is so much. I had my robo assistant help me with my to do list yesterday. I've never done it. I don't know why I waited. It was so fabulous. But I dumped all these things at it. And so it categorized it. And I went, holy crap. Of course. Like I have like 7 categories, not 7 things, 7 categories of to do lists. And I know that I'm not alone. I know many of my clients run this. That's why they're my clients. We learned this together. You know who you are. And it's been really interesting. And so they gave me this example and they showed me when you look at a vacation, if you guys ever looked at, especially if you do like a package or whatever, there's a little scale at the bottom that tells you what's your budget. What do you want to cap it at, what a person or whatever it is, right? Most of those engines, right? Whether it's you're renting a place or whatever it is, it asks for a budget. And if you don't put a budget, your options are much larger. And perhaps so many options can be very overwhelming. It just opens more things. If you really need to know where you're going and how it's going to be there, and instead of now checking 4 places, you have 50 places, it might be overwhelming. And they were telling me that it's really interesting and something to look at, right? Because again, any resistance that you might have around having something is worth looking at. So they said, ask yourself this, right? What will happen when I have this freedom? What am I afraid of that will happen once I have this freedom? That is the underline. That's where it sits. That's the fear around abundance. You have an idea that something will happen when you have this freedom, right? Either is you don't trust yourself with so much money, you don't know what you'll do, or you'll change and you'll lose, or it will cause you to make a difference or a change in your life that you're too afraid to do right now because of the excuse of not having enough money. So, whatever it is, there's freedom that you are afraid of. And it was so profound. You guys, hear me. If you don't have the level of abundance that you want to have, it's because it sits in a freedom that you are afraid of having for whatever reason, right? For me, it was the freedom of too many options, more things in my to do list. And we're going to talk more about that piece in a moment because it was really, really good and profound as well. For my client, I think it was about making the wrong choices because that was who he was in the past. It can be so different for so many people. I think for me, it used to sit in changing who I am. But then spirit showed me that it's completely false. It is so not true. Somebody said that money only like accentuates and grows who you really are. And it's so true. It's an amplifier. It never will ever change it. It's funny, right? Because as I'm hiring my girl and I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. I have somebody that can be formal and send fancy emails, and I can be in my tie dye. So there's this beautiful realization that I've really learned and came through and across for me that you don't need to change who you are, right? But for me now, it's an overwhelm. And so it was just so good and so profound, which leads me into this other piece. This next piece is what I've heard Abraham call as your vibrational escrow. But funny enough, I never really understood. And it's just like the veil episode when I talk about how, for me, understanding the concept of something already being here means that it's on another side of a veil. It's just on the other side of a misty morning. It's sitting next to me or across from me, and I just can't see it because of the mist. But of course, it's here. The earth is here underneath me, even if it's misty. Why would I even doubt that for a moment? And so, when I got to really feel it through my own guidance and understand it through my own brain, right, and consciousness, I was able to really, really embody it. And I think that that's why we're drawn to certain teachings. We go for the pieces that resonates for us, that helps us, connect. But even though I understood what they were talking about, understanding this next piece in my own way was very profound. So my guidance called these vacuums. They said there are vacuums that are created around you in consciousness all the time. And a vacuum is being created when someone has a want. When someone just has a little ping that says, "Ooh, that would be nice. Ooh, I'd like that. That would be great if I had that." A vacuum is being created in the universe, and that vacuum is going to immediately get filled with all the possibility of that thing coming into physical reality. And we act as both. We act as the creators of the vacuum, and act as the fillers of the vacuum. And they told me that I'm really good at scanning and listening for those vacuums and then filling them. That's what I do with my podcast. That's what I do when I teach you guys to just kind of scan and ask spirit or the universe, what's next? What's in my highest good? What's in the collective's highest good? The idea of allowing intuition, right, to come in and whisper and guide you, inspiration, all of that is listening to the vacuum. But here's the kicker, right? all of those pings, being so good at this, leads to overwhelm. It leads to an insane list of to-dos. It leads to 7 categories with lots of items underneath because I feel so many vacuums and I hear so many needs. And I think that this is something I want you guys to hear too, right? Us feeling overwhelmed, us having a long to-do list is not necessarily a bad thing. It is our strength. It's our amazing ability to be able to scan and get inspired, to listen to the need of the collective as well as our own. But at the same time, we gotta learn divine timing and we gotta learn how to trust. And we will talk more about this. And so they continue to teach me about this need and this vacuum that forms when the need happens and what happens for me. And they gave me this really fun example. And they said, the other day I was on YouTube and I was scanning through comments. And this girl said something about my music. And she said, "Hey, I would love a playlist." And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, totally. So I went to create it and realized that because I don't populate my own videos yet, it's in the making, I can't make a playlist, basically. And immediately I was like, okay, it's on a to-do list. Either I'm going to handle it or my media queen will figure it out and we'll just handle it. And so they said, now your songs are already featured in other playlists. So that exists, right? And so they said, this is an example. She had a need, right? It opened a space of a vacuum. You were aware and you allowed that vacuum to begin to be filled, right? You received this ping and you're like, okay, I'm on it. Same for my music. They said it was the same thing, right? They said, you heard the need for manifestation songs, more of that vibe coming from you. You heard it, you listened, you produced it, and you boom, filled this vacuum. And honestly, you guys, I really want to share with you my personal journal about this. And so we're going to kind of read through it and talk more because it was a pure channel. My kids went away. I sat with my journal. My guidance just spoke to me. And I want to share it and I want to teach you through it because it was really beautiful and it was really profound. And so I'm going to read it to you and we might just repeat what I just said, but bear with me. Okay. So this was a huge lesson of expansion, right? Fear of overwhelm. There is a need. Your song is one of the answers that fills that vacuum. You hear the ping and you create it. There was a need for a playlist on YouTube. You saw, quote unquote, the comment. You started to work, quote unquote, on it, filling the vacuum. Same for everything in this universe, right? So that's literally what we just talked about. Everything in this universe is from our wants and needs creating the vacuums and then our desire to fill them, either for ourselves or the collective or both. Now came the piece where they talked to me about how good I am with this. What makes you good? You are great at listening for the answers to fill the vacuum. Without judging why, you fill willingly. And that's really it, right? I teach you guys because sometimes there's stuff that I'm like, what? Okay, I'm not going to judge it. It's something that I used to teach my Reiki students when they would learn how to sense energy and work with people. And I would say, things are going to pop into your head. They're going to sound and feel insane. Blue truck. Why am I thinking about a blue truck? There's a reason. Talk to your client about it. Be open, right? That's an example of you listening, being in a space of just scanning. Their need in the moment is to feel a connection to their dead uncle, right? Dead uncle comes through as you're doing energy work, whispering blue truck, which is what he used to take you on rides when you were little. And right there, you're filling the vacuum because you were allowing this to come through you. You got out of the way, you didn't judge it, you just let it happen. And the more you can be in the space of listening, right? The more you can be in the space of listening. And it's not necessarily for other people, it's for yourself. That's the following the breadcrumbs practice. We will talk about this more today. That's allowing yourself to just be like, okay, I'm listening. I'm in a space of just paying attention because there's always a need and an answer. And I can really be aware of that exchange. And so it's interesting, right? Because again, I heard about this concept from Abraham, and they used to call it vibrational escrow. And I never understood it. And I think partially is because English is not my first language. And the only other time I heard the word escrow is in relations to like selling a house. And I don't even think I fully understand what it means. So I never really related to that term because I really didn't have a full grasp of it. And it's interesting because, like I teach you guys, there's nothing like listening to your own guidance. There's nothing like getting it through your own computer. Because even with Abraham, I love Esther and she's a pretty clean computer. She still runs it through her stuff, her terms, her terminology, the way she translates the energy that's coming through her. And for me, again, there's nothing like learning these pieces so viscerally, like really feeling it, seeing it, imagining it. My guide's giving it to me in that way. And so that's part of why I absolutely love and adore doing LBLs and supporting people's through hypnosis and connecting through their own answers, connecting to their own guidance. So you can become your own channel. And so for me, it was a vacuum. That just made sense. There's a need, and boom, this vacuum is getting created. There's a need for songs from Dance to Manifest to be on a playlist. Boom, vacuum is opened. People are getting pinged to create manifestation playlists featuring Dance to Manifest, filling in this vacuum, filling in this void. Boom, I get a ping also to fill the void with that playlist. It might be good for me to do that. It's in alignment. And so Esther talks about vibrational escrow. To me, it's a vacuum. And when I saw it in this way, it made so much sense, right? And again, it has to do with us. I need support. I ask for support. I tell the universe I deserve support to exceed my wildest dreams, support beyond my wildest expectations. Boom. A vacuum is opening up, and all these possibilities of all of these people that can show up into my world and support me are starting to fill into this vacuum. And I meet these people along the way. I meet the waitress. I meet the girl at the cafe. I send an email to this one person. And I align, and eventually I call in and bring forward this piece in this vacuum that is most aligned into my physical reality and my state of deserving. And so vacuum made sense for me. All right, I want to keep reading from the journal. They went back to my lesson. Back to your lesson with big money. Your fear is/was around the freedom that all these options will bring. The vacation example. The budget limits the options, the overwhelm. But you learn to claim support and saw it can actually birth more options. So they're talking about me literally finding my media queen. And it's been wonderful because I hear the ping, right? I feel into the void. And now I'm not the only one that gets to execute to fill it. And so more options can expand and they can open. And that's not a bad thing. And trust in that support and calling that in. I did a mini podcast about it. It was so good, but really beyond my wildest dreams. She's freaking amazing. And so to have her help right now is just unbelievable. And filling these vacuums is just wonderful now that I have more support. They said, you are also learning to trust the timing of the fill. Well, that's a big one. We're going to unpack this one, right? That is literally the essence of overwhelm. The idea and the feel that everything is happening and needs to happen at once, and you don't have time to finish, and it's all stacking and it's all coming. And they really taught me that there's always a little bit more of a perfect moment to do something other than another. And I recognize and they recognize that we have physical timelines. I have a list with 7 categories and lots of things inside of them. But I know that. I know it from even working with electronics, right? I can fight over something again and again if it's not in alignment for me or if I'm not in a space of alignment. And then the other way, everything just works if I am. And so it was such an important reminder, right? Scan your list. Sometimes it's better to just do something else, clean the house before you finish something. We talk about it all the time. So that piece is really important. All right, let's go back to the journal. You are not the only one filling the vacuum. And here is the key. We felt that fear of missing out. Your unique way will always be yours. Your baby can only be that way that came through your physical DNA, what you created. Same with everything here. The vacuum or void is filled with the answer to the need in many physical, unique ways, and they are all needed. Do not be afraid of those like you filling the vacuum in similar ways, just as you are not afraid or jealous of another exact human physical child. You create your own in a way that is yours. They have a task as well to fill the vacuum and answer a need. That was such a deep and profound piece they gave me, right? Around competition, around jealousy, around this idea that you get an idea and if you don't execute it, if you don't get it out in time, somebody else is going to do it. You're going to miss out. This opportunity, this window will be closed. And they just expressed so deeply how important this is. Back to the journal. So you cannot fill all the vacuum all the time, all alone, nor you want that. Allow divine timing to guide your path of creation. Trust that there is a perfect way for all to be weaved. You can expand and have others help you fill those vacuums with your visions and your babies. I then asked for a process for the overwhelm, like what to do when I feel that, right? And they said, breathe, listen to your sounds to manifest, music, journal, pause. This is a sign that you're not aligned. You have to stop everything until you feel better. We know that it hurts when you feel like you are not filling the vacuum. But you are filling the vacuum in your thoughts, not in actions first. So you have to tend to that. Stop all action. Align your thoughts. Equal quiet process. Sounds, journal, shower, water. Listen to your song. Everything aligns in perfect time. Feelings above all else. And you guys, that was the end. And it was so incredibly profound because it really was that, right? When they said to me, we know that it hurts when you feel like you're not filling the vacuum, but know that you are in your thoughts all the time. Your thoughts is the vibration that first starts filling before the action, right? Before the inspiration, before you push sand, before you turned something on. And I love the last point about telling me to listen to my song. So we are going to end with that. I want you to hear the lyrics, and it is streaming everywhere. So feel free to listen to it with the music. I think it's pretty awesome. Here it is. Joy is my guide. I flow with ease. Success in my heart. I feel at peace. Feelings lead me. They always show. Abundance surrounds me. It blooms and grows. Love in my body. Freedom in the air. I trust the timing. I'm fully aware. I receive with ease. My soul aligned. Everything I want is already mine. My soul remembers. The path is clear. All that I need is already here. Love, joy, and ease, and rhythm and rhyme. Everything aligns in perfect time. I really hope that you guys enjoyed the episode today. It was a very personal episode, sharing with you my channel, my journal, and really all these pieces that I hope you take to heart and let it guide you. I definitely hope you enjoy my new opening and exit with my music. Feel free to check Sounds to Manifest. I think you'd love the full version of Embody the Flow. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for inviting me into your lives. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Healing with Hila. If you'd like to explore more, join our amazing community on Patreon for my Midnight Thoughts, exclusive podcast, and so much more. Thank you so much for inviting me into your life. So much love your way.